What are the ties of love that bind our families together? What is the divine purpose of love in our families? Sountracks presents Ties That Bind.
The topic I would like to ponder upon for today's ministry is about the control we have over our children. Regardless of the sort of attention and concern we give to our own lives, at times we fail. If we ourselves fail at things, can we blame children when they fail to heed to our commands? I've once heard that we always learn to do things after failing to achieve perfection, or perhaps through mistakes. The same is the principle applied by children. They make regrettable blunders and later on come to realize about the gravity of their mistakes. However, in today's day and age, we can bring forth various measures that equip our children before they run into traps. Once a famous English poet named William Wordsworth stated that a child is a father of a man. We must realize that a child is an immense asset. We do not have the right to think less of them. And in many ways, children must be raised by being guided by principles. The world that we live in lacks the overview of principles. Children and adults hate restrictions being imposed on them. Hence, in such a challenging world, it is very much necessary to raise children in a very dignified manner. The lack of restrictions is enlightened by the self-defined sense of morality that rules the world at the moment. Try reminiscing. Has there been instances wherein you as a parent remained unsure as to what decisions are to be made for your children? This confusion is due to the worldly influences that enter into our lives, which causes one to be unsure as to what his or her fundamental principles are. Many wrongs have become right in the eyes of the society. To put viable restrictions on the same is very much a tiring challenge. This is because, as stated earlier, no one prefers boundaries being imposed on them. According to a report published by the Minnesota Crime Commissions in the United States of America, it was theorized that in general, children tend to be selfish, possessive, and brutish in their ways. If we leave children without the imposition of rules, regulations, and restrictions, by heeding to tantrums that are thrown, it was discovered that such children grow up to become very troublesome, law-breaking, and violent criminals. It is here that we realize the true value and importance of restrictions. Now, it must be understood that these so-called restrictions must be imposed on children when they are fully under your discretion. Once the child moves away from you to pursue his or her goals, after that threshold, the imposition of restrictions is impossible, and these children need not adhere or obey to these restrictions. Bearing this in mind, it must be noted that these restrictions are not exclusively for one parent to impose. If it is a household with a father and a mother, both the father and the mother must work hand in hand in deciding where to draw the line when it comes down to children. In a healthy family household, one cannot afford to become the cool dad or the cool mom. Both must impose rules carefully. This will benefit your child in the long run. When it comes down to the imposition of restriction in a family household, there are two distinct philosophies that are usually applied. Firstly, the calm and composed liberal approach, or secondly, the harsh and strict conservative approach. These are two different extremes. Both of these approaches tend to bring out the wrong example for children. Hence, it is necessary that we find the middle ground between these two. But what is the age from which such principles must be applied? Age 12, age 15? An analogy came into my mind. Once, a mother visited a psychologist to inquire about the age from which she should start imposing rules on her child. The psychologist smiled and asked her how old her son was. The mother replied that he was 6, to which the psychologist again replied that she had wasted 5 years already. This is absolutely true. Children must be trained even from a very young age, wherein they might not be necessarily able to discern between what is good and what is evil. And from such a young age, they must be taught basic etiquette. From this, we understand that the use of stick may come in handy, because punishments work as a negative sort of reinforcements that leave a mark on children both mentally and physically, so that they may not err the way they did. But this does not give you the license to beat your child as you wish. Punishments must always be accounted for. Our homes are the primary educational fields for our children. The rest remain secondary. Hence, one cannot impose something on his or her child if one does not practice the same. Children must look up to their parents, which essentially means that parents must practice what they preach. Do not be the parent who wishes to achieve some goal that is left unachieved by you yourself. Do not make your children a part of your dreams. A child must learn to dream his or her own dreams. Hence, you as a parent cannot impose your own dreams on them. In regards to training your child from a very young age, some common examples that can be cited are as follows. At times, children behave reckless when it comes down to playing with their toys. They scatter it around everywhere, making it impossible for adults to walk. After playtime, toddlers must be taught to gather their toys and keep it in a very neat and nicely stacked manner. This acts as a positive reinforcement. Another common example is the tantrums that are thrown by a child. When they visit a mall or something similar, they cry out loud and throw tantrums to get what they desire. Do not fall for it. Children need to be taught that not everything can be achieved by throwing tantrums. This can also be applied when teaching them the value of books. Do not let children tear, throw, or step on books. These are basic essentials that may benefit them in building respect. Another analogy in this regard can be made in relation to the food that is served at their homes. Make sure that children are habituated to the food that is prepared at home. These days, there exists no unity in what is being eaten in a household. In a family with 3 or 4 kids, each requires a different dish. So does the father and the mother. Try avoiding this. Make sure that every family member eats the same dish. Train your child with very essential life skills. From a very young age, he or she must be taught how to take showers, how to dine with others, how to use words that only instigate respect, etc. My point being, an set of restrictions must be imposed on a child at every given age. In relation to building up a healthy atmosphere with children, you must make sure that you as a parent stay in touch with the faculty at your kid's school. Keeping tabs on his or her classmates, teachers, and principal all invoke the message that you are watching your child and have not let them be carefree. This principle must also be applied in relation to the usage of smartphones. The pitfalls into which teenagers fall due to the misuse of mobile phones is a common phenomenon these days, and hence pay attention. But all these can only be achieved after building a hearty and an emotional connection with your child. If the child disobeys, if scuffles happen, it must be solved in love and in patience. For this, the above stated connection is very much necessary. Parents must be also technologically woke so that your child does not have the false sense of pride in being able to deceive you. Once APJ Abdul Kalam described the household in which he grew in, a family wherein he saw both his mother and his father engaging themselves in prayer for 5 times a day very systemically. He drew inspiration from both of his parents due to the very responsible and well-intact approach to the family that was held. Never think that keeping a lot of restrictions would keep your child away from falling into blunders. Love is the key. You must set an example for your child in love. Only then can you advise your child on what to do and what not to do. Above all, prayer, and only prayers in tears, can help build a good Christian household. May God help you to abide to all these principles and build an amazing family experience. We will be back with another episode the next week. Until then, may the grace of God dwell in you. Amen.